2014 this was in Cairo, a protest. As you can see, they aren't very happy with Obama because he sided with the terrorist organization, the Muslim Brotherhood. And this is kind of important because much of this has been declassified. The amount of, because of the military-industrial complex, taking both sides in a war. I'll get to that. But a lot of people really owe Trump an apology. Here's why. 2014, Obama betrays Israel yet again, our strongest ally in the Middle East. He will recognize Hamas. Hamas is, well, people should know, breaking long-standing U.S. policy. Yes, the only time in the past 25 years that I didn't follow politics religiously was when I was in nursing school. So I knew that Obama certainly didn't stand with Israel like America usually does, but didn't know all this. I mean, I found it out since then in the last 3 years. However, it's totally true that he's broken a long-standing U.S. policy, but then he seems to just have an enjoyment in doing that. Again, he must not be born in this country, although we have many enemies to this country in this country, but I believe there's a lot of plans. You know, there was one of the things when all of the talk was about after 9/11 and Bush Jr. going into Iraq, which was a big mistake. It had nothing to do with 9/11, but, you know, all the reasons that they did it, okay? And one of the things even Bush Jr. himself talked about was sleeper cells, okay? That it's like whack-a-mole. You're going to take one out and then another one's going to pop back up. Because many of these countries, it's not that the Iran people are the problem. In fact, there's so many posts. I wish I could, I've gone to the Trump archive tweets, you know, where you can type in something, and the amount of tweets that this man put up back in 2011 and 12, 13, go on and on all the way up until through his presidency about the national security risk of Iran is unbelievable. And yet he kept telling Obama, kept saying to the American people, these are incompetent people. Bill Clinton, none of these people, even John Kerry, don't know how to negotiate. But God, Trump was being nice about it because I don't think they wanted to negotiate. They wanted to hurt America. 2012, bad move. Barack Obama released $147 million in aid to Palestinians. That money is going to Hamas. That's the problem with it. And Trump cut all this off. So the media, CNN, all of you people in the media, you are so disgusting in every way to me. For CNN and MSNBC to highlight Barack Obama as some hero is unbelievable. Like, talk about enemies to the state, the media is. If 2011, if the Palestinians want statehood, then why are they run by the terrorist group Hamas? See, it always comes down to that it's not, you know, the American people that have something against these countries. It's their radical groups, and clearly we have a lot of them in this country too. That's the problem in the world. Yeah, and what are this one's ties? Ilhan Omar, what are her ties to the Muslim Brotherhood, huh? Yeah, I've said I don't have proof. I just don't believe that she's I don't think I think she's illegal here, put it that way. But she has done nothing but go after Israel, okay? In fact, I think that's why the squad, or at least a couple of them, her and I think Tashida Tlaib is her last, Rashida Tlaib. I think Israel won't allow them in the country. They know, because they know who they are. Yeah. But, yeah, if you try to go on Snopes, you know, the fact checkers, or one of the fact checkers, if you don't read the whole thing, they just already have false. No, this is true. Because they say, oh, we don't have proof that she's tied to, but they say that she had closed door events with fundraisers for these groups. Unbelievable the amount of I don't even want to call it misinformation or disinformation, but just lies. 2012, under Obama, Iran has taken over Iraq. Al-Qaeda has taken over Libya. The Muslim Brotherhood now controls Egypt. Worst foreign policy ever, absolutely. This was 2015. Now the truth emerges how the U.S. fueled the rise of ISIS in Syria and Iraq. So, yes, that brings me to this, because of what this has to say about how they play their games, which many people know already. A revealing light on how we got here has now been shown by a recently declassified secret U.S. intelligence report written in August 2012, which uncannily predicts and effectively welcomes the prospect of a Salafist principality. This is what that means is, to put it simply, it's basically the whole following the Quran so strict, like women have no rights, that it's a radical part of the Quran, like that follows it. Like, I have nothing against people that believe in the Quran at all, or any religion, but it's the radical part, the part that beats women in the street in Afghanistan because if their ankles are showing, because they have to wear burqas there. I've said before, it's been a long time, it's an entire headdress. I remember it after 9/11 and us going into Afghanistan. This entire headdress they have to wear, and there's only a mesh of the eyes that they can see through. Like, think of the heat there. And yet it's just barbaric. And yet if they're walking on the street and an ankle is showing, like just any part of they beat them in the street. That's the radical part of because there's many tweets that Trump put up encouraging the people of Iran that they want freedom. They want freedom from the radical government that isn't really a government. It's gangsters. Just, the Muslim Brotherhood, whatever you want to call it. Here we have what's called universities with skull and bones in them. I mean, there's all different kinds, but they're not a government for the people. So, in stark contrast to Western claims at the time, the Defense Intelligence Agency document identifies Al-Qaeda in Iraq, which became ISIS, and fellow Salafists as the major forces driving the insurgency in Syria, and states that Western countries, the Gulf states, and Turkey were supporting the opposition's efforts to take control of eastern Syria, raising the possibility of establishing a declared or undeclared Salafist principality. The Pentagon report goes on, this is exactly what the supporting powers to the opposition want in order to isolate the Syrian regime, which is considered the strategic depth of Iraq and Iran, which is pretty well exactly what happened 2 years later. The report isn't a policy document. It's heavily redacted, and there are ambiguities in the language, but the implications are clear enough. A year into the Syrian rebellion, the U.S. and its allies weren't only supporting and arming an opposition they knew to be dominant by extreme sectarian groups. They were prepared to countenance the creation of some sort of Islamic state, despite the grave danger to Iraq's unity as a Sunni buffer to weaken Syria. That doesn't mean the U.S. created ISIS, of course, though some of its Gulf allies certainly played a role in it, as the U.S. Vice President Joe Biden acknowledged last year. There was no Al-Qaeda in Iraq until the U.S. and Britain invaded. And the U.S. has certainly exploited the existence of ISIS against other forces in the region as a part of a wider drive to maintain Western control. Yeah, so Joe Biden, treasonous. Fact check it. I think there's enough evidence at this point. Obama as well. I'm really sick of it. They are liars. They are enemies to the state, along with our media. Maybe our media should start doing their job instead of looking like complete fools.